U.S. Lacrosse presents the 2016 NFHS Rules Interpretation DVD.
Thank you for taking the time to learn from this rules interpretation video, whether you're an official, coach, or spectator. Understanding the rules and applying them in a standardized way is a key component to keeping the game safe and fun for all participants. NFHS is proud to partner with U.S. Lacrosse to bring you this year's rule interpretation video. This year's rule changes address minimizing the risk of injury to participants and addressing points of emphasis on contact with the stick and body, proper fitting helmets, and equipment. For additional videos, interpretations, content, and resources for lacrosse officials before and during the season, please visit the NFHS and the U.S. Lacrosse Central Hub powered by Arbiter Sports. U.S. Lacrosse and NFHS thanks you for your part in the game, and we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming season.
The points of emphasis identified for the 2016 boys lacrosse season are contact, lacrosse helmet fitting, halftime warm-up, helmets during pregame and practice time, defending the crease, defending the goal area. Contact. Boys lacrosse is a contact sport with a rich tradition and history. Checking and using the stick to dislodge the ball are integral parts of the game. As with any contact sport, continued awareness to minimize risk for all participants is important. Additionally, with the heightened awareness of the seriousness of concussions, reasonable actions must be maintained to reduce the risk of injury for all participants in the game of boys lacrosse. When a player swings with reckless abandon or deliberate viciousness, a slash penalty must be called to protect the safety of the players and to discourage similar swings for the remainder of the game. Hits to the head and neck, and hits that start legal and finish up into the head and neck must be flagged when they are seen and penalized with a 2-minute non-releasable illegal body check at minimum. The illegal body check rule was expanded to include a 2-minute non-releasable penalty for hits to defenseless players and blindside hits. These revisions have had positive results to minimize the risk of injury. Lacrosse helmet fitting. Lacrosse helmets shall meet the current NFHS standard and be properly fitted and worn. Padding of the helmet shall give firm and uniform pressure about the head. The skin of the forehead should move as the helmet is moved from left to right and from front to back. There must be a 4-point chin strap attached to the helmet. The chin strap should be tightened so that there is no slack. When fitting players with helmets, the hairstyle of the players should be considered. If the player has a great deal of thick hair and then receives a haircut, the helmet must then be refitted. Properly fitted helmets should never cause headaches. Halftime warm-up. It's important that all players properly warm up at the end of an extensive interruption of gameplay. It's recommended that the final 3 minutes of intermission be used for a team warm-up period. Helmets during pregame and practice time. It's also important that players properly wear the mandatory protective helmet when engaging in drills that involve passing, shooting, or scrimmaging. Coaches are urged to educate players on the need to be properly equipped at all times. Defending the crease, defending the goal. It's recommended that coaches not teach nor encourage field players to block the goal when the goalkeeper has vacated the goal crease area for any reason. Field players don't have the same protective gear, chest and throat protector, as goalkeepers, and therefore create a safety risk when they attempt to stop a shot. Furthermore, Rule 4.18.1, Situation E, was added stating that teams may not place 2 or more defenders in the goal crease area with clear intention of blocking shots and not defending another player. If this occurs, play shall be suspended immediately and the defensive team penalized with a 30-second conduct foul. A second violation will result in an unsportsmanlike conduct foul. NFHS rule changes for 2016. Rule 1-7-3, Cross Construction. This rule was changed for the 2015 season and delayed to the 2016 season. Players shall not have shooting strings that extend past 4 inches from the top of the crosse. The penalty for having shooting strings below 4 inches is 3 minutes, non-releasable, and the crosse remains at the table for the remainder of the game. Rule 1-8, Crosse Prohibitions. This change expands the Crosse Prohibitions to inhibit the use of pull strings and multiple sidewall strings to lodge the ball in the crosse. The use of pull strings to alter the depth of the pocket is illegal. Additionally, no more than one sidewall string on each side is allowed. The penalty for too many sidewall strings or pull strings is 3 minutes, non-releasable, and the crosse remains at the table for the remainder of the game. Rule 1-9-1K, Player Equipment. This rule was updated to define that the throat protector used by goalkeepers must be designed for lacrosse. Rule 4-3-3, Facing Off. The rules governing how the face-off is administered were changed to create more consistent and fair play. The face-off now follows this procedure. First, the official points to the ground where the face-off will occur and says, "Down." The players move into their face-off position. The official physically adjusts the players' bodies or crosse to ensure the face-off will be conducted fairly. With his hand on or near the ball, the official says, "Set." After the set command, the official backs out and blows the whistle, and the official does not have to be stationary. Watch the following clips of properly conducted face-offs with this procedure. In this first clip from a game in a 3-person crew, the face-off official points to where the face-off will be conducted with the top of his shoe. The lead left official helps the face-off official by verbally instructing the players, but does not physically touch the body or crosse of either player. It's important to note that in a 2-person crew there is no lead left official, and the responsibility of the entire face-off rests with the face-off official. Once satisfied with the positioning, the face-off official places his hand on the crosses. Note that his hand may also be on the ball and says, "Set." The face-off official then backs away and blows the whistle. In this second clip from a game in a 3-person crew, the face-off official starts by pointing to where the face-off will be conducted with the top of his shoe. The officials adjust the positioning to ensure a fair face-off. Once satisfied with the positioning, the face-off official places his hand on the crosses and says, "Set." The face-off official then backs away and blows the whistle. In this demonstration clip, watch and listen to how the face-off is conducted from the official's perspective.
Top of the toe, gentlemen. Down. All right, we got to get this over. Right there. Good. Off the elastic. Excellent. Right there, gents. Keep it there. Set.
Rule 4-3-3I, Facing Off. This rule was added to address players carrying the ball in the back of their crosse during a face-off. Under this new rule, players must move, rake, or direct the ball immediately, and the word immediately is defined as within 1 step. In this clip, the white player comes out of the face-off with the ball in the back of his crosse. Pay close attention to his feet. As the player comes out of his crouch, his right foot lands on the ground while the ball is in the back of his crosse. This should be whistled immediately as withholding the ball from play and the ball awarded to the opposing team at the spot near where the play was suspended. In this demonstration clip, watch how the red player comes out of his crouch with the ball in the back of his crosse. He attempts to pop the ball out, but it does not come out in a single motion. The official correctly calls withholding the ball from play and awards possession to the offended team. Rule 4-3-3N, Facing Off. This rule was added to aid the officials in adjusting the face-off players to the correct position. Any player taking a face-off must have 6 inches of tape that contrasts in color to his helmets, gloves, and the head of his crosse. Only a single wrap of tape may be used, and the tape cannot touch the plastic of the crosse. Failure to arrive at the face-off without 6 inches of contrasting tape is penalized as delay of game, and the ball awarded to the opposing team. Rules 4-9-2N and Rule 4-19-1, Goal Not Counted and Goal Crease Prohibitions. These rule changes more clearly state when officials should wipe off a goal or call a crease violation when an offensive player dives into the crease area. The following clips illustrate legal and illegal plays around the crease. In this clip, the white offensive player catches the ball in front of the crease. After several stick fakes, he shoots and scores while keeping his body from touching the crease line. After scoring, his momentum carries him into the crease. This is a legal goal because the player stayed grounded through his entire shooting motion. The player stepped into the crease during the dead ball after the goal was scored. This next clip shows the blue offensive player diving into the crease area to gain angle on a shot. The player's feet do not remain grounded throughout his motion, and the officials correctly run toward the goal and signal no goal. When a goal is scored and the official judges that the player dove, then the goal must be wiped off. It does not matter if the player scores before or after touching the crease. The determining factor is whether or not the player willingly becomes airborne. In this third and final clip, pay close attention to white number 18 and blue number 6. White 18 dodges past his defender and approaches the crease and either jumps of his own volition or is pushed from behind by the defender. Does blue push white into the crease, and does white touch the crease after scoring? If you judge yes, then the goal should be counted as good, and the push wiped off by the goal. Does the offensive player dive? If you judge yes, then the goal should be wiped off and the ball awarded to the defensive team. Remember that if a player is pushed into the crease and he scores, a flag must be thrown, and then the officials must determine if the contact in the crease occurred before or after the goal was scored. Rule 4-14-3, Advancing the ball into the goal area. This new rule, also known as the over and back rule, was added to keep the ball in play in the offensive half of the field once possession has been established in the goal area. This rule also clarifies and adds consistency with other rule sets and removes the concept of intentional to avoid confusion. After successfully advancing into the goal area, if the offensive team carries, passes, or propels the ball to its defensive half of the field, and the offensive team was last in possession and last touched the ball, except on shot, the result will be an immediate turnover or play on. Defensive players may legally bat the ball to keep it in the offensive half of the field, but if it is possessed and their feet are in the defensive half, it shall be a turnover. In this first clip, the offensive team carries the ball into the attack box and the ball is passed to the midfielder at top center, who misses the ball. It rolls across the center line, and the trail official correctly ends the play as the offended team does not have a clear play on the ball. In this second clip, the offensive team shoots the ball, which hits a pipe and crosses over the center line. Because the ball crossed due to a deflected shot, this is not over and back, and the play should continue normally. In this third and final clip, an orange defender tips the ball on a pass and it slowly rolls to the center line. The white defender on his defensive half of the field picks up the ball and tosses it back to his teammates on their offensive half of the field. Because of the earlier tip, this is not over and back. However, if the ball had not been tipped, then the white team would be called for over and back because their defender possessed the ball while in his defensive half of the field. Rules 4-22-2 and 3, Restarts. This rule change clarifies where the restart should be following a non-time-serving violation on either team. If the defensive team commits a loose ball technical foul and play is stopped in the goal area, then the offense will be awarded the ball and play restarted laterally outside the goal area. If the offensive team commits a loose ball technical foul and play is stopped in the goal area, then the defense will be awarded the ball and play may be restarted in the crease or in the goal area. Rule 7-2D, Penalty Time. This rule change simplifies the language used for determining when players may be released from a penalty when there are simultaneous fouls or dead ball fouls, where time will be served by players from opposing teams. The longest common penalty time between players of opposing teams is non-releasable, as is all penalty time of a shorter or equal duration. Rule 7-3, resuming play after a penalty. With this rule change, the offended team is no longer awarded the ball on their offensive half of the field following a face-off violation. Play will be restarted wherever the ball was when the play was stopped. Because of this change, officials must be aware of what the correct advancement count is, as the offended team may be required to clear the ball if awarded possession following a face-off violation in their defensive half of the field. Rule 7-13-2, Correction of Errors. The official shall promptly correct a mistake if they notice it or if the table personnel alerts them. If a goal is scored during the next play and the mistake is brought to the attention of the referee before the next live ball, the referee must allow or disallow the goal depending on the circumstances of such situations. If all officials are fully aware of the ruling and have sufficient time to call attention to the mistake, the correction must be made before the next live ball. If the officials do not have sufficient time to call attention to the mistake prior to play restarting, for example, when the mistake itself is an improper restart, the correction must be made before the second live ball, which is usually a face-off. Once a face-off occurs, no prior goal may be disallowed. This concludes the NFHS rule interpretation section of this video. For additional resources, see other videos on this DVD, including a U.S. lacrosse video on concussions in lacrosse, as well as a brief section on new youth rules and points of emphasis for the 2016 season. These resources, among many others for coaches, parents, players, and officials, can also be found at www.uslacrosse.org.